Hello, everyone. Sandy Hahn here, and I'm excited to have a guest, Tom Meadows, who I'd mentioned before, talking about the app Steve's Way, which I think is going to be so helpful to me and a lot of people. And I'll let him get into some details about that. But I wanted to say a few things before I turn it over to him. First off, thank you, Tom. I'm just grateful. This is so cool that we could get this put together this quickly. And I've had so much going on. It's just really, it just keeps growing. Number of comments I'm getting from all kinds of people, again, all over the world who are starting to try certain things, from meditation, Adderall, working out, testosterone. Um, and the comments I get back from them are just it gives me goosebumps. It really is pretty amazing, and then tons of comments from all kinds of people, friends and uh, others, just saying that how much that is inspiring them, even though they don't have any uh, issues. But all the stuff I'm doing, talking about, can help so many other people, and that's truly the goal. I mean, I have MSA, but and it sucks, but I'm getting through it. And all the symptoms I have from it are similar to Parkinson's, ALS, um, and so I think everything I'm doing can help so many people. And again, it's so important. It all starts with mindset, uh, changing your mind to start doing things differently, thinking differently, and when you consistently do that every day. Um, your world changes. And it's so awesome. And so those kind of comments, because and again, it helps. Again, two of the biggest symptoms, depression and anxiety, that affect everyone really. I was just talking to Nina about that, and it's that affects everyone. I don't care who you are. It's just a matter of how you manage it. Um, and I've gotten really good at managing it. Through meditation. It's pretty cool. So, and I've got so much other things coming, and I keep talking about it, kind of teasing that are going to be happening over the next few months. And I'm going to be sharing a little bit more each week of what's coming. But I assure you, uh, I've never been more excited in my life about keep doing these kind of calls to people like Tom that are going to help people. Um, but a few other things that I can't give a whole lot of detail on, but I'm so excited. It's one is a treatment that uh, I'm going to have to go out of the country for, and it's I know there's some people who commented on Facebook. They I think they know what it is, uh, and I will giving a lot more detail on that, and then a few of the things I'm going to be doing to sort of keep spreading this message of hope, and inspiring people and encouragement to stay active, to beat this, and to just to be a better person in life. And I'm going to be providing a whole lot more detail on that very soon. But again, I gotta try and manage all this stuff. It's all I'm going to do. It's just I'm going to devote my life to this, uh, and it's because the feeling I get, there's no better feeling. There's no amount of money they could buy that, and not doing it for money. So uh, with that, oh, one thing I did record last Friday. Tyler came with me, went to Rock It Out Gym, and he recorded the whole thing from me getting out of the car, going to the gym, putting a harness on, doing the whole workout, and it's really cool. So that's going to be coming out soon. We're going to put some clips, I'm sure, will be coming out, and we'll have that whole video on the website soon. But so pretty excited about that. So with that said, again, my dear friend Nick Haas got me in touch with Tom Meadows, and we talked and he showed me some stuff. And like, we got to do this as soon as possible. And luckily, he was able to come on. So, Tom, I'll just let you sort of take over, walk through the
Okay.
app, and talk about what it can do, some new things. And again, the cost to do that is there is no cost. So, with that said, Tom
Okay.
Meadows.
Well, again, yeah, my name's Tom, and as Sandy said, I've worked for the last several years just with the ALS Association and actually more in the ALS community. What I'm going to talk about and give you an introduction to is not an app. These are actual settings in iPhones and iPads that allow you to use your phone hands-free. My journey started when a friend of mine was diagnosed with ALS, and it kind of all started with how difficult it was to find, to allow him to continue to control his TV and his music. So it started with learning together with him all these things that people then, frankly, I learned did not know about. You won't find anybody that'll be able to set it up for you at the Apple store. And so I'll get into more of that at the end. But so what I want to do is kind of take you through a few examples of what you can do with your phone and how you might gather some success by working together with Sandy as an organization, as a community. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. The path that I'm going to follow is in fact, as Steve's symptoms changed, everybody's different. I'm sure it's the same with MSA. We uncovered different ways where he could continue to use his phone exactly as he always had. So obviously, smartphones are built with touch, the ability to hold and the ability to touch the phone. Well, along Steve's journey, the very first thing was the loss of really the good use of his left arm. So that left him trying to do it one-handed. So the first thing you have to think about, depending on where you are or just to be prepared of where you might go, are stands. So I recommend that you look into stands like this. This is called a gooseneck. It's got a very powerful, it can clamp on chairs, on furniture where you like to sit at your home. And it just simply, you just open that up and you put it in, and that way your phone will be placed in front of you. Now, with Steve, though, again, because of the weakness in the left and the beginning of the right, I'm going to start by introducing you to what some of you might know, but many people we've learned don't know. So I'm going to go hands-free from this point on. And that is that a standard Bluetooth mouse, you can do everything. People don't realize it works on an iPhone. They know that it works on an iPad, but Apple will not tell anybody that it works on an iPhone. I don't know why. It's nowhere in their documentation, but it's much easier to just, if your phone has everything. Let's face it, it has all the communication and without having to connect an iPad and manage two devices. So what I'm going to do is just briefly just kind of talk about, I've connected this mouse via Bluetooth to this iPhone. You connect it just like a speaker or anything else. And now what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn it on. And then from there, once you've just connected it, you're not seeing anything yet. You need to go into the settings and then into accessibility. And you're going to go into all of the things we're going to be talking about are here under physical and motor. Touch, we're going to talk about touch. We're going to talk about voice control. We're going to talk about head tracking. And so it all starts with, how do I replace touch? I'm here, my phone's in front of me, but I have limited strength in this arm. So we're going to go into touch, and we're going to go into assistive touch, and I'm going to turn it on. And so just like that, now you have a fully functioning new finger, essentially. Everything you can do, like I'm going to click the mouse and hold to go up and down, just as I would do with my finger. And so I can, go back, and when I want to go and do more, like how would I go home, for instance, there's this little menu that automatically is put here, and you just click it, and then you say, go home. And then from here, I'm going to click and hold, and just slide back and forth. So it really gives you the ability to just use it. Like if you see this green, you can just assume that's my finger touching and swiping up, but I'm barely moving. This mouse is just going about like this. And as long as you still have the ability to tap, and there's even a way to not, if you can't even tap, if you can just slide, you keep your arm rested. Steve primarily used his fingers, my friend, and he was able to use this for a long time when his left arm and his right arm still had enough strength to do this for a very long time. So I think it's really important. I don't know why, I'm sorry. I don't know why Apple really doesn't promote this. In fact, interestingly enough, any Bluetooth mouse that you connect just, to Bluetooth here on the phone works, except Apple's mouse. Their Magic Mouse works on iPads, does not work on iPhones. I imagine it has to do with encouraging the sales of iPads. But now you know that a fully functioning mouse is available. And I would encourage you to get a cheap one. We sent out a box when I was working with when I was doing this the last 3 years. And in that, we included an inexpensive, $10 mouse from Amazon. And it was nice to send everybody that ultimately ended up, taking classes and such, the same mouse, because I could have 10 people on there and they'd all follow the same steps to connect it and the same steps to turn it on. And then together, they would be able to then start working with each other to improve how they all used it. Last thing I'll say about the mouse, and this is where the real work comes in, is that inside assistive touch is, you notice that when I touch this, it brings up this menu. And there's no way we could go through all of this, but what you need to know is that menu can be customized, to do many of the things that you might want to do, like restart the phone or take a picture, a screenshot. As you can see, there's just an enormous number of settings that can be utilized in this menu when you click it. Okay, so scrolling down, for instance, you click that and then it's going to scroll down. So you can set that menu up, and that's pretty important, but that takes a great deal of time to learn. And that I hope that the MSA, this group, and Sandy will lead the charge that all of you get better. So I want to move on from the mouse. And so I'm going to turn off. I'm going to go get rid of the mouse in my settings. So I'm going to now move on to the next phase that my friend Steve, where he also now had difficulty even doing the mouse. So we're going to go back to my Bluetooth settings, and I'm just going to disconnect that before we continue. All right. So from here, the same things apply in terms of it's essentially a mouse behind it. The next thing I'm going to show you, which is voice control. Now, this is not Siri. Siri is a task management tool. I want you to think of this. I'm going to go ahead and turn off touch. I want you to think of this as if somebody is holding your phone for you. So you're there and you're saying, hey, would you help me out? Can you swipe over and open up my books and then go home and then open up a browser? It is a 250 commands that are built in. It was actually built in the 70s with the initial Apples. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn that around. I'm going to give you a quick demo of how you can control this phone without touching it while it's in front of you right on this stand. So I'm going to go into the settings again, and I'll go back to the beginning so that you can see, remember where I went. So I'm going to go into settings, and I'm going to go into accessibility, and I'm going to go down into physical and motor, and I'm going to go to voice control, and I'm going to turn it on. Now, let me take care of one thing, and I'll explain what I'm doing in a moment. Hide numbers. So there's a tutorial that you can see about 4 rows down here, and you can practice this. You'll know that it's on by the little blue dot that is up in the corner of the phone. It'll be gray when you first turn it on. It has to download some things, and then it's blue. So from there now, with no hands, just voice, and it doesn't have to be a powerful voice if some of you are starting to have those issues. Steve was able to use this for a good amount of time during his journey with ALS. And let me show you a little bit about what it can do. Go home, swipe left. You'll notice you can see the same mouse that we saw when we were using an actual Bluetooth mouse. If you watch it, it actually appears. So think of it as somebody's holding it for you and you're telling them what to do. Swipe right. Show numbers. Now, I always recommend using numbers. And the reason I do is because it's less on your voice. So I could say, open messages. Go home. Or when you turn on the numbers by using that command show numbers that I just said, all I have to do is use say the numbers on the phone, and that's telling the iPhone where to tap. 21, 4, double tap 7, 2. I just liked one of Sandy's text messages. Go home. Open app switcher. Swipe up 3 times. 9. Swipe up. Scroll up. That's doing a page at a time versus swipe up. So it's incredibly powerful. I could go and show you lots of things, but I can tell you that 3 years ago when I was out at the Sundance Film Festival, actually, and I made a commitment with some of the friends, and everybody used this 100% of the time to order Ubers, to send text messages to each other, to do everything. So whenever they could, they would simply talk to their phone and tell it how to tap, how to swipe, what to tap. And I do want to quickly end with how powerful the typing is if you want to write things, and how quickly you can edit things. Open notes. 1. I gotta have to put my glasses on now. 19. No, I'm sorry. 16. 16. This is a test of how you can just talk when you're writing or talking or writing a paper, period. New paragraph. I really have to go to the store to get some bananas and apples. Replace bananas with grapes. And again, we don't have a lot of time, so there are an enormous amount of commands. You can select and delete, select all.
Yeah, we may have to do a follow-up on this, because this is incredible information. Now, a question for you it's a big thing with MSA is losing the ability to speak. And I know you had said that there were some new things, maybe they're not ready yet, but the ability to do stuff with just your head or your eyes, is that anything that's
Yes, I'll be moving to that. I was going to move to that next.
Perfect.
So I'm following Steve's journey. He started by using a mouse. He then moved to his voice. And the reason I mentioned TV, so he would bring up his Roku remote right here, and he could change channels and volume. He can control everything as if he was holding the remote using these numbers. And you can also use grids. But so there are, again, 250 commands. And if you learn those, you can edit, you can anything you could do with your fingers, you could now do with your voice. And that's very different from Siri. So now I'm going to move on to what Sandy had just mentioned. So I'm going to go back into accessibility and I'm going to turn off voice control. All right. And now we're in physical and motor here, as you can see. And now we're going to go in and we're going to turn on a mouse, but we're not connecting to Bluetooth. We're just going to connect our head to the camera. It's called head tracking. And I've already have some things set up because I just wanted to do a demo. But you're going to see that when I raise my eyebrows, that's like clicking the mouse. I'm going to turn some of this stuff off because I don't want to overcomplicate it. Okay, so these are called facial gestures. So once I turn this on, you're going to see that exact same cursor, and it's going to be following my nose, essentially in between my eyes and the bridge of my nose is where it's programmed to follow. And so with that, I'll turn it on. All right, and now you're seeing that my head is controlling this mouse. Farther the way you get from it, you need less movement. But now, just like I was doing when I started with a Bluetooth mouse, I'm using my eyebrows, just tapping them up and down. Okay. And just like I did the demo before when I used the mouse, I can open up my text messages.
You're doing that all with your eyebrows.
Yeah. So exactly. So what I'm doing, I'll come close, is up and down about as fast as you can say the word tap. That's going to tap. So if I want to open photos, just raise my my eyebrows up and down. The other thing, instead of always having to go hit this menu, I programmed it so that if I just go a little long blink, and that brings up the menu. Raise my eyebrows to go home. And then finally, if I like kiss to the right and kiss to the left, that does left swipes and right swipes. So if I go, I don't think I have enough light in here, but so you can see I'm just, yeah, and those are called facial gestures. And then there's additional things. If you get once, what I learned with working with hundreds of people living with ALS is that they get better at this like immediately. The younger they are, actually, they're experts at it. You know, they blow by me. It just takes time, which they have, and practice, and they get as good as using their phone using this kind of feature as when they were holding it and touching it. And that includes typing, because, you know, if I wanted to type something, you can type and you can use, you know, the predictive text or anything, but you can also type with swipe, which I'm not going to set that up, but it allows you to get good. They can turn it on. And if you've heard of swipe, you don't lift your finger off. So they just click here and they go THOUGHT, and then the word thought shows up and they hit it. So they get better. And I'm going to come back to people that have lost their voice and add one additional thing that I'm going to show you. But what I wanted to emphasize with this is that from a Bluetooth mouse, when you still have hand movement, to a voice, to if you still have a voice, then I wanted to move on to now my head becomes the mouse. And there's a lot of things to learn there, a lot of little tweaks that have to typically be done. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to actually leave that on. I want to show one last thing on it, because then we're going to talk about how would you use this then to speak. So I'm going to do snap to item. I'm going to turn that on and see now it holds. It's easier because it holds over things. Now I have it extra sensitive. I need to turn this down. Because the better you get, the higher this number can be, so that it can move fast. So now, rather, you'll see the cursor, but now it actually makes it a little easier for some people like it, and some don't. But what I'm going to do now is talk about speaking. So first of all, there's a built-in speaking app into Apple that is free, but I don't think it's as powerful as what you would need. But if I go into settings, and this time I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to turn on live speech. It was already on. But what that allows me to do then is if I triple click the side button, and I can also access it from a menu, you get a keyboard. I'm going back. So that's my voice. People also may not know that Apple has a built-in AI voice creator. So you can, hear yourself speak, but there's also a company called 11 Labs. If you even just have small, short recordings of your voice from before MSA, you can process those. And when I show you the next thing, the speaking apps, you'll see that it is, sounds just like you if that's something that interests you. Steve just used a default voice. And once we got to this point with his head, there are a number of them. I'm going to show you Speech Switch. This is about $25 on the App Store. And what I like about it is, this isn't Steve's, but he would set up like you can create tabs when you're asking about feelings. He created tabs for a lot of friends so that he would, before they got there, he would write in questions he wanted to ask them and such. And then, of course, you have a keyboard, which allows you to do all the typing that we were just talking about. So this one's called Speech Assistant, but in addition, there's a number of free ones. This one's called Alec, and you just hit here and you get a keyboard, but it also is starting to introduce AI. So if you and I were talking, or somebody's talking to you, it can listen, and then you just hit give me a suggestion after a bunch of stuff they might have said, and it will suggest how, what would I say to them, and it will use the history of everything you've said using the app. So these are all up and coming with the growing use of AI in these things. But I think what's most important is I turned on voice control, which I have said, that's just a shortcut there. So those are the main topics that I wanted to cover. I'm going to turn off all the accessibility and then just talk a little bit, summarize and then talk about it. So wherever you are in your journey with MSA, with living with MSA, this is something you can truly get better at every day. And again, whether you're going to use a mouse, if that's possible, whether you're going to use your head as a mouse, your voice as a way to direct where to tap and swipe, all of those things make it easier to live with MSA as things possibly change. I think what's important is that you together, Sandy, I'm sure will ask me to send some of the suggestions. These things have some detailed setup times. I wish they were simple. I have worked with Apple for the last few years. I'm done doing that. But to try and get them to make this even easier to understand the settings. My biggest success in working with ALS was when I was with a group called Her ALS Story. And now there's His ALS Story. They are people under 35 living with ALS. They took to this so quickly to a point where there are individuals who only have head movement and no voice, but they can connect via FaceTime with someone that wants, and they can set it up for them. Because another thing is I can control phones, iPhones. Apple released that last year, but they didn't tell anybody. So when you're FaceTiming, we can now I can control the phone and just set them up for you. So I'll end with this. This is a commitment that the MSA community has to take. I think that because it does take leadership in learning these things so that then you can begin to share this amongst people with MSA all around the world. It's a little more difficult for some of our more senior people, but it is absolutely possible. I've enjoyed witnessing, the first time people kind of use their voice using what we just saw many, many times while I was doing this. I had to step back because You know, I managed to get it being taught by speech and language pathologists at Ohio State and a few other successes, but it took so much time that I had to get back to my life and the things that I still have to finish. So my advice is that with Sandy's leadership, maybe you guys can all come together around the world and create the settings that make the most sense for the MSA community, and write up these, you know, those things and spread the word, because it really does make a huge difference. And as Sandy said, maybe in a follow-up, there is much, much more. There are shortcuts, and there is, they have, if your speech is slurred, you can record a word that is what that word sounds like when you're saying it, and attach commands to it. All of these things are in these settings. It's just that Apple doesn't really want to get into the being known as a medical device, so they do not. You'll never see a commercial with any of this stuff. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Sandy. I hope this helped, and you know,
Yes.
I wish you guys all well.
I appreciate that. I think this is awesome. I think we are definitely going to have to do a follow up and maybe some more videos that we like put on my website to direct people to say, hey, this stuff's available. Put it in some simple terms and to walk them through it. Because again, I'm technologically illiterate, so any the stuff that I could find would certainly help me because I still have issues. But I think this would help so many people because there's so many people I'm communicating with who've lost, either completely lost their speech or it's very limited. So I think this really could be amazing. And I think we definitely do some follow-ups. And what I'd like to do, because I have um, the ability to through my foundation, you've mentioned some of those packets that were what, 10 or 20 bucks with a
Oh
steam
yeah,
with a
so I
mouse.
can send you,
I
like, this is a gooseneck, for instance, and this is a desk stand. So that's an idea of some of the things that when, you know, that we sent out to a number of people in the ALS that were living with ALS. So it's, you know, there were some other things, because there's a whole nother subject called switch control, which is very powerful. So, but it is certainly an easy thing to do. They're called Lamical, is the name that we use. But I'll send you a list of the things that we were providing for people when we were doing this.
I appreciate that, and what I want to let everyone know uh, is that I would like to uh, be able to, if somebody wants one and they want to email me, I'd like to be able to send those out, a bunch of them. I mean, it's only 10, 20 bucks, um, but I could do a whole bunch of those to the foundation, and I would like to do that. And we can talk more about how to do that. But that was really amazing. I really appreciate it. And we'll definitely do some follow up. I'm sure probably have a lot of questions from people, but
Well, I hope that
which
somebody sees this, that's living with MSA, that has technical capabilities and wants to join your cause as you present meditation and working out, that they'll take on making sure that everybody that wants to use these tools can. It's the way it ultimately ended up working in the ALS community. And so that is what I wish the most for you and anybody that watches this, that they'll contact you and say, look, I'm good at the iPhone and I would like to help. And so that's my hope for you.
yes, me too. It certainly wouldn't be me, but I'm hoping enough people would want to help, and I'm sure we'll find a way to do that. So thank you again so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for everyone watching, and we'll be back next week with a lot more. And I guarantee you, we're going to be doing a lot more follow up with Tom. And can't thank you enough.
You're very welcome. Best to all of you.
Thanks. All right. See you guys. Take care.